Okie dokie friends, let's talk vaults. Good for burying money, emotions, and in the Fallout verse, people looking to escape nuclear devastation. Yet, as we all know, Vault Tech isn't the sort of company that you would trust with your wallet, let alone your life. And so each trip inside one of their vaults is kind of like looking into a new circle of hell. From radiation experiments, mind control, murder cults, and good old-fashioned puppets, the vaults in Fallout are truly iconic. So the question is, which is the best of the worst? Well, let's have a chat. As I'm Jules, this is FGS, and these are Fallout's 10 most iconic vaults. But wait, I'm not heading out into the wasteland alone, as today I've got my chosen companion in the form of Seth Lester, whose comment we picked out from last week's episode to be made into a full entry here. And if you want to be included in next week's video, then have a think about what you pick as the most unsettling or scary Easter egg in video games that you found. But we're not talking about shaky bones today, we're talking about irradiated ones. So let's go on and explore some iconic vaults. Number 10. Vault 22, Fallout New Vegas. Let's waste no time getting into the nightmare fuel then with Fallout New Vegas's dreaded Vault 22. And don't say that you weren't warned about this one. There's an ominous, urgently spray-painted sign outside this vault which straight up tells you, stay out, the plants kill. Indeed, Vault 22 housed scientists conducting agricultural research, whose experiments with fungus led it to, shocker, spread it through the vault and infect everyone inside. Vault 22 is one of the eeriest of all the vaults. Whether you're taking on the spore-carrying mutated humans inside or simply observing how plant life has, well, reclaimed so much of its interior, you do get to leave the place slightly better than you found it though, by using C4 to carry out some pest control on the remaining spore population. You would not want to live in Vault 22, but it is one of the most distinctive and unforgettably skin-crawling vaults in the series, one that'll leave you desperate to take a shower after escaping it. Number 9. Vault 118, Fallout 4, Far Harbor. Rather fittingly, Fallout 4's best DLC also adds one of the series' best ever vaults with the gloriously unhinged Vault 118. Built underneath the Cliff's Edge Hotel, 118's experiment involved housing 10 wealthy residents who would be weighted on hand and foot by robotic staff, all while 300 poorer people would be sequestered somewhere else in the vault in cramped, unpleasant conditions. The rich would also be free to act with impunity and could order the robots to carry out their judgments of justice. Except construction of the poor wing of the vault was never actually completed, and the vault's primary financier, Ezra Parker, ultimately convinced the other wealthy residents to join him in shedding his human form to becoming an immortal robo-brain. When players reach the vault, however, Ezra has been murdered by one of the other robo-brains, kickstarting a hilariously demented murder mystery with an outcome that we shan't spoil here, because you really should see this for yourself. All the same, Vault 118's fancy interiors combined with the delightfully quirky robotic shenanigans make it an absolute riot. Number 8. Vault 76. Fallout 76. Now, put any you might have for Fallout 76 aside, and let's just appreciate the uniqueness of Vault 76, given that it's one of the few vaults encountered throughout the franchise without something majorly effed up taking place inside. That's because Vault 76 is a control vault, a vault without a formal experiment going on, but instead one that is intended to open after 20 years after the bombs dropped in order to rebuild the world above ground. Unlike most of the vaults on this list, 76 actually looked like a pretty great place to live and basically worked out as intended. This isn't terribly surprising considering that it was built to house America's future. That is Vault Tech University students, former White House staffers, and so on, but getting kicked out onto the wasteland after 2 decades of peace and quiet, well, that must have been one hell of a trip. Number 7. Vault 112, Fallout 3. And so we come to Seth Lester's pick, and on the surface, Vault 112 actually looks like a rather idyllic place to wait out the nuclear fallout, as the residents of this particular vault were suspended in a virtual reality simulation and experienced a pre-war utopia that every other survivor of the war could only dream of. However, there's just one problem. When the player arrives to the vault, the world of Tranquility Lane that they find has been corrupted by the overseer Stanislaus Brown, who's warped things into his own personal playground, and let me tell you, he does not play nice, preferring instead to torture, abuse, and kill residents of the vault over and over before resetting things and doing it to them again. And just what experiments was the good doctor conducting here? Absolutely none at all, and was actually just murdering the residents out of sheer boredom. Ironically, this vault was actually a gift to Dr. Stanislaus for his work creating the Garden of Eden kit and didn't possess any of the usual Vault Tech shenanigans, but thanks to the enemy of time and a vile personality streak, became one of the most haunting and cruel vaults that the player can experience in Fallout 3. Number 6. Vault 111, Fallout 4. In main story terms, there are few vaults more memorable than Fallout 4's Vault 111. This is your starter vault which you're rushed into amid the threat of an imminent nuclear apocalypse, only to find yourself yourself cryogenically frozen against your will for 210 years. Oh, and you get to witness your spouse getting murdered and your son kidnapped while you're helpless to do anything just to rub salt into the bloody wound. While far from the most interesting vault in terms of decor or population, I mean, the rest of the human popsicles have died and all, the experiment tricking people into unknowingly being frozen is fascinatingly calculated. And more to the point, Vault 111 maintains a thread all the way through to the game's ending, where the player finally learns precisely how they survived in cryo while everyone else died, and what became of their son. Number 5. Vault 13, Fallout 1 and 2. Call it nostalgia goggles all you want, but it would be a disservice not to go back to the very beginning of Fallout and single out the franchise's OG vault. Vault 13 was created to study prolonged isolation in its inhabitants, with the vault not intended to be opened for 200 years. But when its water purification chip began to malfunction, the Overseer began sending unlucky inhabitants out to source a new one, with the player themselves eventually being shoved into the wasteland to get the job done. And so, Fallout begins. Yet even when you finally succeed, the Overseer decides to banish you from the vault for your troubles, amid the belief that your experiences on the outside would persuade other dwellers to leave the vault. It all gets very nasty from here as various vault dwellers rebel against the Overseer for exiling you, ultimately sentencing him to death and abolishing the position of Overseer entirely. Nice. Without Vault 13, we wouldn't have any other vault in the series, so it's impossible not to include it in a prime spot here. Number 4. Vault 81, Fallout 4. Vault 81 is the series' ultimate example of a vault seemingly destined for disaster, which unexpectedly blossomed into something quite beautiful. The vault was designed to contain a secret wing where vault tech scientists would introduce diseases to the main vault's population and then attempt to cure the afflicted, all in the pursuit of developing a universal cure to every possible human ailment. But in a twist that just might restore your faith in humanity a teensy bit, the Overseer refused to play any such part in a cruel experiment and simply neglected to notify the scientists to report to the vault. And even when a few scientists turned up anyway, the Overseer simply sabotaged the delivery nozzles for the diseases before siloing the scientists away in their own wing for the rest of their natural days. And so the residents of Vault 81 got to live full, peaceful lives. Well, for the standards of a nuclear apocalypse anyway, and still do to this very day, having even established trade relations with the outside world. And if that isn't a best case scenario, what is? Number 3. Vault 11, Fallout New Vegas. Now who's up for some emotional whiplash? From the serene to the utterly horrific now, we have New Vegas' Vault 11, which must surely be the series' all-time most damning indictment of human nature. The Vault's experiment tasked the dwellers with choosing one of their number to be sacrificed every year, with a failure to do so resulting in everyone inside being killed. Initially, the residents voted to choose their annual sacrifice, with dwellers splintering off into various political factions jostling for control of the vault. But one Overseer ultimately decided to dismantle the voting system and instead have the sacrifice be chosen by the vault's computer, resulting in a violent coup which left most of the residents dead. Only 5 dwellers remained and, upon refusing to shed any more blood, were congratulated by the vault's computer, revealing that there was never any real threat of the collective being killed and it was merely just some bleak social experiment. But that's not the end of the misery. All but one of the survivors then killed themselves out of shame, leaving a single dweller to wander out into the wasteland alone. That is very heavy, but also kind of amazing. If nothing else, nobody who's experienced Vault 11 will ever forget it. Number 2. Vault 101, Fallout 3. Many understandably have a soft spot for Fallout 3's Vault 101, given that it was the starter vault in the game which well and truly shot Fallout into mainstream popularity. Here's one for the homebodies out there then. Vault 101's big experiment is that it was just, well, never intended to open, like ever. That's right, 101 was meant to study the Overseer's role in a vault that never opens, though as you're surely aware, that sealed shut mandate didn't exactly stick. What makes Vault 101 intensely memorable is Fallout 3's fantastic prologue, where you get to see the lone wanderer grow up inside the vault alongside their father James, cementing how bloody weird it would be to spend your entire existence below ground. Your time in the vault comes to an end soon enough though, courtesy of a radroach infestation and your father's sudden departure, sending you to the surface. And number 1, Vault 108. Fallout 3. And finally, could there ever possibly be another number 1 entry other than Vault 108? It's a vault forever burned into the minds of anyone who's ever entered it thanks to one word: Gary. Vault 108 was basically designed to spike the blood pressure of anyone unlucky enough to dwell within it. The Overseer was terminally ill, the vault's power was set to fail after 20 years, there was no entertainment inside it, and in the event that tensions boiled over, the armory had triple the weapons of most other vaults. Yikes. But what truly takes Vault 108 to to the next level is its cloning device, which was used to create clones of one of the Vault's original residents, Gary. Each clone viewed non-clones with considerable distrust, and each new clone also became increasingly more violent, all the while only speaking a single word, which you guessed it, is Gary. By the time the Lone Wanderer gets to the Vault, it's basically just a party of Garys running around the place, and they do not much care for your intrusion. And there we go, my friends. Those were Fallout's 10 most iconic vaults. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. And if you want to be part of next week's episode, have a think on what you would choose for the most unsettling Easter eggs in video games. Pop it down in the comment section. And if you want to follow me over on the social medias, you can do so by going over to X or over to Instagram, where I'm at RetroJ, but the O is a 0. Hope to see you over there, my friends. Before I go, I just want to say one thing. Even though we spoke about a lot of horrors underground, let's talk about the positivity on the surface that we can bring to the top, and that is just by being kind to ourselves each and every day. You deserve the best, my friend. You deserve love. You deserve happiness. You deserve success. Now go out there and smash it. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.